Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of The Jay Show, the show where we talk about the latest and hottest topics in the world of sports. Thank you all for joining me today. Got a plethora of topics that we were going to get to. We are transitioning into week 12 of the NFL season. A lot of big headlines coming out the last couple of days, and we're going to talk about some things that I've been wanting to discuss. We got some stuff going on in Philly with Jalen Hurts, drama about them being frustrated with him at the quarterback position. We got official news, which I already had it pre-written up before the show, but Shedeur Sanders is set to make his debut on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. Going to talk some Chargers. As I foreshadowed on Monday, they had a very bad loss against the Jaguars, and I was wanting to talk about their playoff hopes just a little bit. I'm going to give a preview of tomorrow's matchup between the Bills and the Texans. And we're going to end my show off, of course, talking about my Dallas Cowboys going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and if they have a legit shot to beat Philly on Sunday. And that's what I have slated and planned for y'all today. But before we get into that, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the podcast, share your podcast, share my podcast to friends and family, and look up my podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's show. There was an article that came out that Mrs. Diana Russini of The Athletic, an individual that many people do not like in the media space for some odd reason. I think she does pretty good reporting. She's kind of like the Jay Glazers. They're kind of just, they come out with these wacky stories that only good inside reporters can get. Leaky information. And I guess there was another beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, whoever's involved with the team, kind of was seconding what Diana Russini reported. So basically, the report from Diana Russini pretty much summarized that the Philadelphia Eagles and players in the locker room are growing a little bit frustrated with Jalen Hurts and his style of play, him not wanting to push the ball up the field, not taking chances, this and this and that. And my main takeaway with that whole news and the, Jordan Mailata was asked about it on 94 The Whip, Philadelphia's sports radio show. Nick Sirianni's been asked about it. And I wanted to talk about this because we know the overarching things going on with Devontae Smith, what he said about the offense, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley. And this was my main takeaway because Jalen Hurts is obviously the main just component and the main factor to all of the discourse going on with Philadelphia and their lackluster offense. And lackluster is putting it pretty mildly. But here is my overall takeaway about Jalen Hurts. People need to absolutely come to the realization that Jalen Hurts is not a highlight reel. He is not one of the most gifted, talent-wise quarterbacks that we have in this league. If we look at the Joe Burrows, the Patrick Mahomes, the Justin Herberts, the Josh Allens, and the list goes on, the Lamar Jacksons, all of those guys are highlight reels. Week in and week out, you're watching him like he's got a big arm. He is super fast. He is athletically gifted. He's tall. He just making all these nice plays. We saw Josh Allen score 6 touchdowns. And Josh Allen, and I talked about it on Monday, Josh Allen looked like Superman on Monday. That is something that we never said about Jalen Hurts. Can Jalen Hurts, is he somewhat fast at the quarterback position? Yes, but we've never watched Jalen Hurts and say, he's got a big arm. He's tall. The only thing that we've said about Jalen Hurts is that his quads and legs is strong because we've seen videos of him squatting 600 pounds and he's able to do the tush push. A play, mind you, that is going to be outlawed by the NFL once league meetings come around in the summertime. This is the Jalen Hurts we are talking about. And we saw, again, what Josh Allen was able to do. Jalen Hurts is never going to do stuff like that. Like, he's never going to just make all these plays that make you go absolutely wow. And I put up a couple stats. So basically, over the last couple of years, You know, ever since I should have done it since his Super Bowl run, which I looked at his Super Bowl numbers. He threw like 1 touchdown and he had a pick. His Super Bowl numbers aren't gaudy, crazy numbers, but he did get Super Bowl MVP last year. But I wanted to compare Jalen Hurts' numbers from the 2023 year all the way up till now, because I want to give audiences an idea of where Jalen Hurts' numbers have been from their Super Bowl window all the way up till now. Jalen Hurts in 2023 threw for 3,800 yards. He done the same thing in 2022 as well. Last year in 2021, he had an 18 touchdown, 5 interception ratio. He only averaged 8.0 yards a pass, and he only threw for 2,900 yards. What about this year? So far, Jalen Hurts has only threw 6 touchdowns, accounted for 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's averaging 7 yards per pass, and he only has 1,995 yards. At this current pace, Jalen Hurts is kind of on the verge of getting to that number. Jalen Hurts for his career has never thrown for 4,000 yards. That is something that we have been able to say for a plethora of those other talented quarterbacks that we have discussed. Jalen Hurts is the type of guy that cares about winning. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. It doesn't matter to him. All that Jalen Hurts values at the end of the day is if there's a win or a loss in the win or loss column. We know there's a lot of people that love the quarterback win stat, and there's a lot of people who are not a fan of the quarterback win stat. But to Jalen Hurts, it applies. Jalen Hurts is never going to statistically blow you away. He's never going to throw for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and almost 400 yards. Jalen Hurts is never going to do that. And we've seen throughout the season this year, Jalen Hurts is not pushing the ball down the field. A lot of that has to do with Kevin Patullo and the play calling. But the only time we ever see Jalen Hurts push the ball down the field is if he's 9 times out of 10, he is throwing a go ball, a fade ball to A.J. Brown. Or if he's throwing a post route in the middle of the field to Smitty or someone of that nature. They're never pushing the ball down the field. And and Eagles fans are expecting more, and people are expecting more out of Jalen Hurts than what Jalen Hurts is actually capable of. Coming into the league, and even in his first couple of years, Jalen Hurts has never blown you away with his ability to throw the football. It's something that Nick Saban was talking about when he was at Alabama, and it's something that Nick Saban was telling us whenever, when the Eagles first went to the Super Bowl in 2023, he was highlighting the fact that, son, you need to transcend your passing game. So that's why he went to Oklahoma and he went to Lincoln Riley to shore that up a bit. And then when he got to the league, he had all these great offensive coordinators. He had Shane Steichen, great quarterback coach. And then he had Kellen Moore and went on to win a Super Bowl. So he's had some great offensive coordinators. But in the grand scheme of things, when has Jalen Hurts been hyper productive? It is when he's always had that stacked offensive line and a great complementary run game. I don't want to be a hater, but I can honestly say, if you take away their ability to run the ball, which that is happening currently right now, and if you took away some portion of that gaudy offensive line that they have, Jalen Hurts would be a regular mid-pedestrian quarterback. That is not me hating. That is just the absolute truth. Another side in conversation that can be, well, Jayden, every other quarterback has weapons at their disposal. Why do we crucify Jalen Hurts? We got to think, ladies and gentlemen. Jalen Hurts has arguably 2 number 1 receivers. He has one of the best offensive lines in the league. He has one of the best running backs in the league. He has all of that at his disposal. What does Josh Allen have? Josh Allen doesn't even have close to what Jalen Hurts has got. And we see what he's doing over there in Buffalo. Like, he is putting the team on his back. Same thing can go for Patrick Mahomes. Now, granted, Patrick Mahomes, he's got some weapons. He's just having a down year. But we've seen multiple seasons of Patrick Mahomes just being great. Same thing can go for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson doesn't have all these gaudy weapons that Jalen Hurts has at his disposal. And when Joe Burrow is healthy, we know what he's able to do. Even with that trash offensive line that Joe Burrow has had ever since he's been in Cincinnati, he's still been able to produce. Did you see his numbers last year? If it wasn't for how bad Cincinnati's record was, Cincinnati would have won the MVP. So people need to get over, and people in Philadelphia and everybody in the locker room, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, get over it. Jalen Hurts is never going to be the quarterback that y'all want him to be. He's going to be the guy. He's going to take care of the football, and he's going to win by any means necessary. If that means that he's going to throw one touchdown pass and only throw for 200 yards and he gets the win, Jalen Hurts is the guy. He would rather throw for that one touchdown and those 200 yards instead of throwing for 4 touchdowns, 350 yards, and lose the game. That is the type of mentality that he has. And we cannot knock Jalen Hurts for it. That is the ultimate goal in the NFL, is to win. But when it comes to winning with Jalen Hurts, you're not going to get the highlight reels. So Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, whoever is leaking this information out in Philly, if you think that you're going to get the highlight reels along with the winning, you might as well get out of Philadelphia. Because as long as Jalen Hurts has the keys to the car in Philly, that is how things are going to roll. It's just some crazy stuff that is going on in Philly when it pertains to just the stuff going on, and people frustrated with the offense. It's just crazy. But a great topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that many NFL fans are ready for. We actually got confirmation today that Shedeur Sanders, yes, Shedeur Sanders, 5th round draft pick, Deion Sanders' son, is set to make his NFL debut on Sunday. And my takeaway from this news is, and this is what I wanted to discuss. Me personally, I went back and watched his tape from Sunday. There was a lot of good. Well, I won't say there's a lot of good. Some good. I really thought his first drive was like the best drive he had. Some good. A lot of bad. But I've watched Dylan Gabriel as well. But here was my overall thing going into this game when we really get ready for Shedeur Sanders' debut. I think Shedeur Sanders should be the starter for the Cleveland Browns if they win on Sunday. And this is the reason why. And a lot of people, I've seen Cleveland media, everyone involved with the Cleveland Browns, the radio shows, and everybody is losing their minds over this Shedeur Sanders stuff. Even the stories when it comes to the first team reps and Shedeur not having that. Look, I've never played in the NFL. I don't know anyone who's played in the NFL. I'm only going off the information that I've heard from Shannon Sharp and Colin Cowherd. Everybody's had their bits of this. From what I've consumed, so to speak, Shannon Sharp has said that some backup quarterbacks do get first team reps in practice during the week. That is what Shannon Sharp has said. Others, like Colin Cowherd, has said, no, that you're never going to get first team reps if you were the backup quarterback. And then Colin Cowherd, who obviously he is someone I look up to in the media space. And this is why I bring up him so much in the show. One day I'll be on the volume doing a podcast for him. Colin Cowherd, if you see this, I love you. But Colin Cowherd had a great point. You got a guy like Joe Flacco who was traded in the middle of the week to Cincinnati, and he went up and put on a light show. So we got to stop with the excuses when it comes to the Shedeur Sanders. And Josina Anderson, someone who's in the media, she's been getting a lot of slack for it. Like, media's been going crazy over Shedeur Sanders. But this is where I'm going to defend Shedeur Sanders. I'm not going to say nothing about the first team reps. I know nothing about it. It's past my expertise. I'm not about to give a hot take on that. But I can say this, though. when you really watch Dillon Gabriel in comparison to Shedeur Sanders, and I compared the two after watching Shedeur's film on Sunday night. Well, I watched Shedeur's film this morning. We need to take into account that Dillon Gabriel really shouldn't have been drafted where he was drafted, because let's be honest, Dillon Gabriel was not a third-round talent. He just really wasn't. If you watch Dillon Gabriel in Oklahoma, if you watched him at Oregon, nothing wowed you. It's the same thing we said about Jalen Hurts. He has a weak arm. He's small. He does not move well. He has nothing, no good traits that you want out of a quarterback in 2025. Nor leadership. I've never seen the dude having any type of leadership qualities. I've never seen him wow me on the podium. Dillon Gabriel has nothing that screams, I want this guy to be my franchise quarterback in the NFL. And contrary to Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur's just more talented. He's bigger, stronger, throws a pretty decent ball, and he may be lacking the leadership qualities, but I would be pretty more motivated by Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, than I would Dillon Gabriel. And let's be honest, the offense under Dillon Gabriel has been what I could call check down Charlie, not pushing the ball up the field. What I saw in Shedeur Sanders' tape this morning, Shedeur was actually wanting to push the ball down the field and was making a couple nice throws. He missed one in the end zone that I know he wished he could have had back. And then a couple throws after that, he actually threw a nice little fade there in the end zone. So he was pushing the ball down the field, and that is something that the Cleveland Browns have been missing on offense. Shedeur actually, when I watched Shedeur Sanders, he looked like an NFL quarterback. When I watched Dillon Gabriel, he does not look like he belongs on an NFL field. He just does not. This is not me hating on Dillon Gabriel. Granted, I'm not one of the biggest Dillon Gabriel guys coming out of college. I never thought the kid was that good, and I definitely did not think he was worth a third-round pick. I thought, and I know many scouts have said this as well, because I've heard this on John Middlecoff, like, dude, sixth or seventh round pick. This guy, not worth a third round pick. But Shedeur, we know that the Mel Kipers of the world, Mel Kiper had him as the best available quarterback in the draft, and he fell all the way to fifth. So that is what I think of Shedeur Sanders. And this is what I think should happen. If Shedeur wins on Sunday and the offense actually looks the best it's ever been, and even though the Browns have been able to win some games, but the offense has not looked like the best thing since sliced bread. They've been winning in spite of the offense. Because the defense, that roster on Cleveland is actually pretty good. Out of all like the 2-win teams that are out there, Cleveland's probably has the best roster. You got a guy in Myles Garrett who is going to be in the conversation of breaking the sack record going towards the end of the year. But I think Shedeur should be the starter if he wins on Sunday. Even if he plays well in a loss, he should be the starter after Sunday. What I want to see from Shedeur Sanders, and he's going up against a Las Vegas Raiders team who is not that good, mind you. We saw what Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys were able to do on offense, and they had a rough start to the game, but we see what they were able to do on offense against the Las Vegas Raiders. So what I want to see from Shedeur, I want to see you throw the ball down the field. I want you to be able to attack this whole defensive backfield that is in Las Vegas. I want to see you run play action. I want to see you adapt to, install. I want to see Kevin Stefanski install the run game with Judkins, have some play action, and let Shedeur fling the ball around. I think Shedeur Sanders has the capability to have a good game on Sunday against Las Vegas. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'm betting. I'm not a betting man, but I promise you, there's a good chance Shedeur goes. He's going to have 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's going to throw for 250 yards. And he's going to get the win. And he is going to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns going forward. Now, we're not... There's a whole different discussion we can have about him being the future for the franchise. I'm not going to go that far. But I think Shedeur Sanders actually has a legit shot on Sunday to win and be the starter moving forward. All right. This is a team I've been pulling for, and it's a team that I've been very high on. They had a great start to their season. I'm talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. Y'all know I've raved about Jim Harbaugh multiple times this year. I love me some Jim Harbaugh. I love the way he plays. I love the way he calls and has his team play the game of football. Huge fan. But this year has been a little disappointing. They're 7-4. They're not had a bye week yet. They get their bye this week. So maybe this gives them a chance. They get healthy, get Amarion Hampton back. But we've said it multiple times so far this year. You know, they lost both of their tackles. They have been just full of injuries. Like, they're not as bad as the 49ers, but they're up there with the teams who has had the worst injury look. I'm talking about teams who are contending to make the playoffs. Outside of the 49ers, they have to be like second when it comes to suffering, dreadful, and just injuries to key players. Lost both their tackles, and that's like, tackle is the worst injury you can have. You had your all-pro guy, Pro Bowler in Rashawn Slater go down, and you had your promising rookie from last year, Joe Alt, who is having a phenomenal season so far, and he's out for the rest of the year. And the Chargers went out on Sunday and put up an absolute stinker against the Jaguars. And here was my overall take when I was wanting to discuss the Chargers. I don't know if the Chargers are going to be able to go on a deep playoff run because of the injuries they have sustained so far this year. And overall, I don't know if Justin Herbert and the Chargers will ever have a better opportunity to get or make a deep playoff run than they do this year. Fans, guys, whoever's listening, please look at the AFC playoff picture. Please. I want us to all look together. I don't have a fancy graphic, but I'll look at it for you. From the top of my head, I know who the top 2 seeds are. We're talking about an AFC where Denver is first, New England, and Indianapolis. 3 teams that I'm sure nobody had on their bingo cards for being the best 3 AFC teams. Look at the Bills. We've discussed the Bills multitude of times. Not the best team Josh Allen has had in his career. Jacksonville's currently in the playoff picture. The team that they lost to. We know that they're due for a loss. Jacksonville's one of the most roller coaster teams. Probably is the most roller coaster team in the NFL this year. But when you look at how dismantled and dismayed this roster is, we know that Justin Herbert, and I discussed it last week on the pod, and I had a guy respond to me. He's like, yeah, Justin Herbert's good at the quick pass, but when is Justin Herbert at his best? Justin Herbert is at his best when he's able to show off that arm and stretch the field. That is when Justin Herbert, that is the Chargers style of play. They want to be able to run the football, run the play action, and throw the ball deep. That's why Quentin Johnston, he's had a very good year this year in comparison to what he has the last couple of years, because most people really thought he was going to be a bust. You got Ladd McConkey, you got Trey Harris, you got Keenan Allen. Everything was smooth, and just they were like a highlight team for the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season. And then over the past couple of weeks, it's kind of just been going downhill. And I think injuries may ultimately hold them back from making a deep playoff push. And it is kind of disappointing because of how there's so much parity in the NFL this year, specifically in the AFC, because I think the AFC has the weakest conference in the NFL. And the Chargers themselves, they don't have the easiest division. I think 3 playoff teams is going to be coming out of that division. The Chargers, the Chiefs, and we know the Broncos right now are currently in the driver's seat to get the number 1 seed and host playoff games throughout the playoffs. I want Justin Herbert to succeed. Between him and Josh Allen, those are the 2 most talented quarterbacks I've been able to witness since I've started really covering football. But I really don't know if the Chargers are going to be able to be successful because of the injuries that they have faced on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively, they have the defense. Granted, they did look well on Sunday, but we know that's an anomaly. We know that Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter are going to have their defense ready to play come playoff time. But I really do not trust this offense. And I kind of don't trust Justin Herbert to a degree. We know there's been multiple instances not multiple. Well, yeah, let's say multiple. We've had multiple instances where Justin Herbert has not played well in the playoffs. Last year, they got absolutely ramshacked by the Texans. It was a shocker. Justin Herbert and the Chargers were like one of my favorite picks of the week last year in the playoffs. And they got absolutely ramshacked. And we know against Trevor Lawrence, the prince who was promised, who actually just beat him and shellacked him. It seems like Trevor Lawrence has Justin Herbert's number. We know in that playoff game, the Chargers had a sizable lead. And they were able to come back and beat the Chargers in the wild card round of the playoffs. Granted, a lot of that had to do with the Chargers' old head coach, Jim Staley. But we know Justin Herbert has not had playoff success. And that is why this year was a better year than any year. And when the Chargers had like this good run, I was just to start the season, I was like, yeah, this might be the Chargers' year. But I really do feel like if it wasn't for injuries, I think the Chargers could be the favorites because that's how good this team is. But just losing your tackles and losing your offensive line and their ineptitude ability to be able to get a running game. You lose Najee Harris to a Achilles injury earlier on in the season. It just injuries. And that's part of the NFL. We can't use that as an excuse. But I really don't think that I think the Chargers, their ceiling might be the division round. I think they can win a wild card game, but I feel like if they were to get to the divisional round of the playoffs, I really do think they would be dogs. They would be the underdogs in that game. It sucks very much, but it's the reality for the Los Angeles Chargers. We have a great matchup tomorrow night. Bills-Texans. We actually just got notified roughly yesterday that Davis Mills is going to be at quarterback. CJ Stroud is going to miss his second straight game dealing with a concussion that he suffered a couple of weeks ago. But this game, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about when it pertains to this game on tomorrow night. This game has a lot more to do with the Buffalo Bills. Because we know what I discussed on Monday about the Bills. You know, Josh Allen had to play Superman, and their offense just doesn't have the capabilities to be great unless Josh Allen puts on his cape and his cowl and goes crazy. Josh Allen, as we discussed earlier when we were talking about Jalen Hurts, had 6 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. Josh Allen was doing his thing. So, I want to see if the Buffalo Bills are able to muster up any type of offense outside of Josh Allen. Keon Coleman, have you been in your meetings this week? I know you obviously were traveling because today's Wednesday, you're on the road, so you only had 2 days of practice. Did you go to your meetings? Are you going to be available? I want to see you if you can take the next step. Joe Brady, can you get the wide receivers more involved? I don't think Dalton Kincaid is going to be available. Like, can we get just a competent receiving core? Can we throw some touchdowns to somebody else outside of Josh Allen? I don't want to see Josh Allen get 6 touchdowns. Granted, I know that's what makes Josh Allen great. I'm not over here trying to advertise. Are you really sitting here saying that Josh Allen should minimize his greatness? What's the point in that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, my point in that is if the Buffalo Bills want to make a deep playoff run, we've seen it with many teams, many years. The really only outside case was the year that Joe Burrow was able to take his team to the Super Bowl, and I still don't know how he took that roster to the Super Bowl. But guess what? Joe Burrow had T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So he had weapons. Josh Allen has nobody. We cannot sit here and think Josh Allen is going to run for 3 touchdowns and pass for 3 touchdowns for 3 consecutive playoff games to get to a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. And this is why I want to bring up this topic. Like, why are you bringing this up now? We've already talked about this. Well, this is against the Texans. The Texans has a very good defense. And we know that the Bills are going to have to go on the road. What better test is this game is on primetime TV, Thursday Night Football, on the road against one of the top 5, top 3 defenses in the NFL in the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans does not play down there with that defense. Will Anderson, Singletary, the list goes on and on. The linebackers, Aziz Shahir, they got guys. Daniel Hunter, they got guys across the board over there defensively. They have a great defense. And this kind of feels somewhat like a semi-trap game for the Bills. I mean, the week before, you lost to the Dolphins. You got absolutely shellacked. I think the score was roughly 13-30 against the Miami Dolphins on the road. Last week, you had to score 44 to beat the Bills. And you're going on the road again. And if the people around Josh Allen does not want to step up and elevate their play, James Cook, Alt Shavers, the wide receiver, he actually showed up and showed out. Is Keon Coleman going to get his act together? All these storylines. Dawson Knox, the tight end room, without Dalton Kincaid. And overall, just because the Buffalo Bills haven't played well on the road, I think this could be an absolute great signature win. This is a type of win if you go on the road somewhere that you haven't played well, and you play good against a good defense, and you get contributions out of everyone, Khalil Shakir and the whole wide receiver room and the tight end room. If you were able to play complementary offense, you can persuade somebody like me and think, yeah, the Bills are Super Bowl contenders. Because we know the reports that came out roughly over the trade deadline. They were trying to get a wide receiver 1. The Jalen Waddles in their own division. Like, they were searching. I don't know how they weren't able to get their hands on the guy from Rashid Shaheed, who was traded to the Seahawks. I don't know how they didn't get their hands on them. But Houston is a tough and gritty team that is currently fighting for a playoff spot. So you're going to get their absolute best. And the Buffalo Bills need to be ready. Because this feels like a semi-trap game. And I don't know. Who do I currently... I don't know what the line is. Let's see what the line is for this game. So Buffalo is favored -6. I don't know, y'all. I think I might be leaning. This ain't part of my picks. I don't ever pick Thursday night games. If I was a really bad man, I might take Houston +6. Might. Granted, they didn't look that good on the road against the Tennessee Titans, but it is a division game. We know those games are tough. But I want to see if Buffalo is able to muster up any type of offense outside of Josh Allen. It is a good storyline leading up into their matchup tomorrow night. All right. Last topic for today. Show's short and sweet. It's one of these shows where I have to come up with topics to talk about. It's no like post-game reactions or anything of that nature. It's stuff that in storylines that we have to think about. And I want to end the show off today about thinking about this. I wanted to talk a little bit of Eagles-Cowboys. You know, there's so much to talk about when it comes to the Cowboys. There's so many angles I could go to. I was kind of want to talk about the article that came out roughly about Demarion Overshawn and his injury recovery. But, you know, I'll save that for a later date. But Eagles-Cowboys. And something that I want to discuss and my takeaway going into this game. And many people are not giving the Dallas Cowboys a shot to win this game. If you think about it, the Eagles are 8-2, riding high. But I really do think that the Dallas Cowboys have a legit chance to win on Sunday. Because when it pertains to these divisional games, they're always tough. No matter where the teams are at, it could be the Cowboys, they could be 1-7, 1-8, and the Eagles can be 7-1. Is going to be a tough win. You're going to get your absolute best because that is how things work when it comes to these divisional games. And we are talking about a Philly team who has a lot of drama coming out of their camp when it pertains to what we just discussed earlier when it comes to Jalen Hurts, with his drama that he has going on, when it pertains to A.J. Brown, the offense. They got a whole lot of dysfunction going on over there in the city of brotherly love and Lincoln Financial Field. A lot of things. So I think Dallas is motivated, not only because of the tragedy of losing their teammate, but they feel like they got a shot. These trade acquisitions, I believe in the additions that they got from injuries, I think this Cowboys team feel they have a shot. And if you look at their schedule, and I know the schedule now from the back of my hand because so many shows have talked about the Cowboys today. I can recite this schedule like the back of my head. So Sunday night, they got Philly. Thanksgiving, you got Patrick Mahomes and company coming to AT&T Stadium. The week after that, on Monday Night Football, roughly, I think, you got the Detroit Lions. After that, you have either the Chargers or the Vikings, one or the two. They're vice versa, but you got to face those two teams in a span of 2 weeks. And then the final 2 games of the season, you have the Commanders and the Giants. And when you think about all those teams, we're talking about, I'm getting kind of off topic here. I'm over here supposed to talk about them having a chance to win on Sunday, but we know that what's at stake here. Dallas has a chance to go on a run. Let's just keep it in short like that. I'm over here getting carried away. They have a run. They have a chance to go on a run. And this game starts that run. And we are going to see if the Cowboys are legit. Because let's be honest, this is going to be a tough game. It's a division game. So there might be a scenario where Philly's offense might be on. Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, they might get the guys motivated. Something might change, X's and O's, Y's. And the Philadelphia Eagles may be ready to put on an absolute show in AT&T. They are probably going to be ready to absolutely embarrass the Dallas Cowboys. So that offense might be popping. And the Cowboys defensively need to be ready to put up a fight. And I don't want to hear anyone, when Dallas wins on Sunday, I don't want to hear, well, Philly's offense ain't been that good. No, the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-2. Why have they won 6 straight or something like that? They've won games. Well, I wouldn't say 6 straight. What was their last loss? They last lost to the Giants. That was roughly 4 or 5 weeks ago. I don't think it's been 6 weeks. But they're on a definitely severe win streak here. So I don't want no excuses if Philly loses this week. I don't want to hear, no, this game right here will single-handedly show if the Dallas Cowboys are capable of potentially going on a run. Because in my opinion, outside of the Lions, this is the toughest team they're going to face. I think they match up very well against the Chargers. We know Dallas, their edge rushers is their weak spot to a degree. And that is where the Chargers lack at. So that's going to be a pretty good matchup. And the reason why I think Dallas can win on Sunday, I know I talked about the Eagles probably getting better offensively. But me personally, I don't foresee this Eagles offense getting better on Sunday at all. I think Dallas is going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. And I think they're going to be ready to play defensively. With Quentin Williams, they're going to get after Jalen Hurts. They're not going to be able to run the football. They're going to force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. And I'm taking a chance on our defensive secondary with Siobhan Revel and everyone else. I am betting on them to have a good game. And ultimately, this is really where the Eagles could wreck the Dallas Cowboys. And this is what the Cowboys have to do if they really want to win this game. The only way I foresee the Eagles winning this game is if they wreak havoc defensively. If they get to Dak Prescott, rattle him, and force him to turn the ball over. What Dallas needs to do offensively, they need to establish the run. Establish the run. Do not let us get in second and long, third and long. I don't want to be behind the sticks. We need to stay in front of the sticks. Do not allow this defense and their pass rush with the addition of Jalen Phillips to go crazy. That is our key to success. And can the Cowboys protect Dak Prescott? Because we know that the offensive line has been hit and miss. Even on Monday night, a couple of nights ago, they were able to get after Dak a little bit. But I really do think Dallas has the capability to be able to protect Dak and run the football well against this pretty good defense. And I really do think Dallas has a legit chance to win on Sunday. And they have a chance to run the table. Me personally, I discussed it on Monday. I'm not betting on that. I think it is just too high. It is too high of a bar for the Cowboys to reach. Because really, I think the Cowboys this season have not won back-to-back games. If they win on Sunday, this will be the first back-to-back win they've had all year. They've not won 2 games in a row. They've lost 2 in a row, but they haven't won 2 in a row. So it's even a tall order to ask them to win back-to-back games. Do I foresee them going winning 5 out of the next 7, or winning 6 out of the next 7? I really do not know. But I do give Dallas a legit chance to win this Sunday. I'm not going to tell you if I have them winning. We'll save that for my picks of the week on Friday. But it is a good storyline to talk about. And I really think the Cowboys have made great additions defensively. I think they have positively affected this offense. And again, they have a legit chance to upset Philly and show the NFL that, and everyone, all the teams involved in the league, that, yeah, we're legit and we have a chance to make some noise and get into the playoffs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the shortest podcasts I've had in a while. That's pretty much all I have. Shorter talking than usual. I guess when you actually cannot sit here and react and you don't have multiple angles to go about a story, your segments are only roughly 6-7 minutes long. But that is pretty much all I have for you all today. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all on Friday. We'll discuss the actual matchups specifically on Friday pertaining to each game. I just want to roughly just discuss some storylines going on in the NFL as of this week, leading into week 12. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you all on Friday. Look in the description below. Check out all my sports videos, and I will see you all on Friday. Love you guys. Peace. It's not a game.